Welcome to our deep dive, everyone. Today we're exploring something truly fascinating.
The power of individual action.
You got it. And to do that, we're going to be looking at some inspiring stories from this
A Spanish language document titled
yeah,
El Poder del Cuidado.
Crónica de Tres Heroes Invisibles,
Exactly.
which for you listening means,
The Power of Caring. Chronicle of Three Invisible Heroes.
what's really cool about these stories is they're not about, like these grand heroic gestures.
Right.
It's really about everyday people amidst chaos making a difference.
And it's incredible how these small choices can have huge ripple effects.
Absolutely. So in this deep dive, we're going to really unpack what makes these people tick, what we can learn from their stories, and how even small acts of caring can create, a more hopeful world for all of us.
Because it really is a reminder that we all have that potential to be agents of change.
Exactly. No matter how challenging things get.
Right.
So to kick things off, let's dive right into our first story. Chella Phillips. Picture. This September 2019, Hurricane Dorian just slams into the Bahamas.
Oh, wow.
Utter devastation everywhere.
Yeah.
Homes destroyed, families displaced, and this sense of, just fear everywhere.
Yes, you can't forget the animals.
Yeah.
So many animals, especially stray dogs, left incredibly vulnerable.
No, Chella Verrill was already known in her community in Nassau for her work rescuing stray dogs.
Right.
But what she did during Dorian was just unbelievable. With the storm raging outside, she opens up her own home.
Oh.
Turns it into a shelter for 97 dogs.
97? I can't even imagine.
Right.
The noise, the logistics of keeping so many animals safe and fed during a hurricane.
It's mind-boggling.
Talk about resilience.
Absolutely, and empathy beyond measure.
Yeah.
And here's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
Chella's story. It didn't stay in the Bahamas. It goes global. Captures the hearts of people all over the world.
It became a symbol of hope amidst the devastation, right?
Yeah.
A testament to the fact that compassion can transcend borders.
It really is. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
Her story resonated with so many people because it taps into that very human desire to help those in need.
It's universal.
No matter where they are.
Exactly. And it reminds us that empathy, it's not just, a warm, fuzzy feeling.
Right.
It's actually a driving force for action.
A catalyst for change.
And studies have even shown that acts of altruism, like Chella's,
wow.
they activate reward centers in our brains.
So helping others actually makes us feel good.
It does. It suggests that helping others is inherently rewarding for us, too.
I love that.
Yeah.
So it's not just about being selfless.
Right.
It's about recognizing that we're all interconnected,
Exactly.
The well-being of others is ultimately tied to our own.
Chella's story really shows us that.
It's like a chain reaction of compassion.
Right.
Even in the face of overwhelming challenges, one person's actions can make a world of difference.
It's true.
And that brings us to a big question for our listeners.
What's that?
What small act of caring are you capable of? It doesn't have to involve 97 dogs or a natural disaster.
Right.
But it could still make a real difference in someone's life.
Or even inspire others to act.
Exactly. Now let's shift gears a bit and travel to a completely different part of the world,
Okay.
where we meet Araceli,
Araceli.
a young woman using the power of social media to tackle this pressing environmental challenge.
Interesting.
Imagine a dying lagoon in a Latin American community.
I've seen similar situations, unfortunately.
It's a scene that's all too common, right?
Yeah.
Pollution threatens the ecosystem, impacting not only wildlife, but also the people who depend on it.
It's a reminder that environmental issues are rarely isolated.
Right.
They're interconnected with social, economic, even political factors.
And in this story, it's Araceli who decides to take a stand.
What does she do?
Well, she's armed with her smartphone and a TikTok account. And she decides to document the lagoon's plight, sharing her concerns with the world.
So she's using digital tools to amplify her message.
Exactly. But here's the thing. She doesn't just present like a doom and gloom scenario.
Right.
She captures the lagoon's beauty,
Oh, wow.
its importance to the community, and the heartbreaking impact of the pollution.
She's a storyteller.
And a good one.
Yeah.
Her videos are engaging, informative, and most importantly, they offer solutions.
And call people to action.
Yes. And guess what?
What?
It worked. Her videos go viral, reaching millions of viewers on TikTok and beyond.
That's amazing.
But her impact went way beyond the digital world.
Okay.
She organized cleanups, rescued animals trapped in debris, and became this voice for change in her community.
Wow.
all thanks to social media.
It's a brilliant example of digital activism making real-world impact.
Oh, it really is.
Especially for younger generations who are, so fluent in the language of social media.
Right. It's about harnessing the power of technology to connect with others, raise awareness, mobilize communities.
Anyone can be an agent of change.
No matter their age or resources.
Yeah,
Araceli proves that.
for sure.
So I want to ask you, what issue are you passionate about? How could you use your own skills to raise awareness or inspire action?
It's a good question.
Because change starts with a single step.
Yeah.
And sometimes that step is as simple as sharing a post or signing a petition.
Or even just having a conversation.
Yeah. Now, for our last story in this part of our deep dive, we're going to a historical monument,
Interesting.
the Quinta de Bolivar in Bogota, Colombia.
I've heard of it.
It's the former home of Simón Bolívar, a key figure in Latin American history.
A testament to a pivotal era.
Exactly. And for over 2 decades, this historical treasure has been under the care of Jose, the dedicated gardener.
Okay.
Just imagine him, day after day, meticulously tending to the gardens, making sure the Quinta remains this vibrant connection to the past.
Jose is one of those unsung heroes, right?
I think so.
Working diligently, often without recognition, to preserve our cultural heritage.
It's a reminder that caring isn't always about those grand gestures. Sometimes it's about that quiet dedication.
To a task that has a profound impact on others.
And Jose's work is so much more than just maintaining plants.
In what way?
He's a storyteller, sharing his knowledge of the Quinta's history with visitors, bringing the past to life.
Wow.
His dedication ensures that future generations can experience this piece of history and connect with their roots.
It's about recognizing that caring for our heritage,
Yeah.
whether it's a historical monument or a family tradition, it's about preserving a connection to something larger than ourselves.
And Jose embodies that beautifully.
He does.
He's a living link to the past, reminding us of the importance of preserving history.
Not just for ourselves, but for future generations.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this first part of our deep dive, I want you to think about what resonated with you most in these stories. Was it Chela's incredible courage during the hurricane? Araceli's use of social media for environmental activism? Or Jose's quiet dedication to preserving history?
It's hard to choose just one.
Right. They're all so powerful.
They are.
And more importantly, what sparks your own desire to act? What cause calls to you?
Yeah, think about that.
Because even small acts of caring can create ripples of change that extend far beyond what we can imagine.
We'll explore this further in part 2.
So stay tuned. Welcome back to our deep dive into the power of caring. In part 1, we explored those incredible stories of individual action, like how everyday people can have such a huge impact.
Yeah, we journeyed from the Bahamas to that dying lagoon and then to a historical monument in Bogota.
Exactly. Each story was so unique, but they all show that human capacity for empathy, resilience, and just this deep desire to, make a difference. But now I kind of want to go deeper into what motivates these acts of caring.
Okay.
Like what drives people like Chela Araceli and Jose to go above and beyond? Is it just altruism, a sense of duty, or is there something even deeper going on?
That's a great question. It's tempting to just label these stories as, selfless acts, but I think there's usually this more intricate mix of things happening.
Okay, so let's break that down.
Yeah.
What are some of those underlying motivations? What could be driving these people?
Well, one thing that often gets overlooked is the connection between the caregiver and the person receiving the care. It's not just a one-way street of giving.
Oh, I see.
There's this reciprocal relationship, this shared experience that benefits both sides.
Yeah, it's not just about doing something for someone. It's about feeling connected with them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like with Chela and those 97 dogs.
Yeah.
They weren't just, random recipients of her kindness. They were living beings she felt responsible for. Their well-being was tied to her own.
And that feeling of interconnectedness, that empathy fueled her actions.
Exactly. And that's a powerful motivator, not just in extreme situations, but in our everyday lives, too.
Right. It's about recognizing that what we do affects others and that their well-being is connected to ours.
It's not just about selflessness. It's
Yeah.
realizing we're all part of this bigger web of life.
We see that in Araceli's story, too.
Yeah.
Her passion for that lagoon wasn't just some abstract concern for the environment. It came from this deep connection to her community, to the people directly affected by the pollution.
She saw the lagoon as part of her identity, her heritage, and that's what fueled her fight to protect it.
And then there's Jose tending to the Quinta de Bolivar.
Yeah.
His dedication goes way beyond just a job. He sees himself as this caretaker of something much bigger, a guardian of history.
It's as if he's tending to the memory, the legacy of Simon Bolivar, and in a way, the identity of his nation.
That's powerful.
Mm.
So we've got this idea of interconnectedness, responsibility, and this deep need for purpose.
Mm-hmm.
But how do we actually tap into those things in our own lives?
Yeah.
How do we cultivate that sense of caring that seems so essential to being human?
That's a big question, and I think it's one a lot of people struggle with, especially today. We're bombarded with information constantly, and it's easy to feel overwhelmed by all the world's problems.
Yeah, it's easy to feel like our actions don't really matter, like we're just a drop in the ocean.
But we have to remember, even small acts of caring can make ripples. They can inspire others, build momentum, and create this culture of compassion.
Okay, so what are some practical things we can do to cultivate that in our own lives?
Well, I think it starts with awareness, paying attention to the needs of those around us, both human and, all living things. It's about recognizing that we're all connected and that our actions have consequences.
So choosing empathy over apathy, kindness over indifference, action over inaction.
Exactly. Ask yourself, what small act of kindness can I do today? How can I make a difference in my community?
And it doesn't have to be some big heroic thing. It can be listening to a friend, helping an elderly neighbor, donating to a cause.
Even a genuine smile, a word of encouragement can brighten someone's day.
Create a ripple of positivity.
And when you multiply those small acts across communities, it can lead to some big changes.
It can create a sense of belonging, stronger communities, a world where caring is just the norm.
Yeah.
But let's be real. Maintaining that sense of caring can be tough.
Especially with all the negativity and suffering we see.
Yeah, we've all heard of compassion fatigue, that feeling of burnout from being exposed to the world's problems constantly.
That's a real thing. And it's important to acknowledge it. You can't pour from an empty cup. You have to take care of yourself first, both physically and emotionally, in order to care for others.
So self-care isn't selfish, it's essential.
Exactly. It's finding healthy ways to manage stress, replenish your energy, cultivate inner peace.
Spending time in nature, practicing mindfulness, pursuing your passions, connecting with loved ones.
It's about recognizing that caring for yourself is part of caring for others.
It's all connected.
And remember, you don't have to do it all alone. Connect with others who share your values, who also want to make a difference.
That sense of community, of shared purpose can be so empowering.
It really can. It's a reminder that we're stronger together, that collective action amplifies individual efforts.
So as we move to the last part of our deep dive, think about this. How can you cultivate empathy, responsibility, and community in your own life?
And how can you care for yourself while also caring for others and the world around you?
It's something to think about as we explore the ripple effects of caring in part 3. Welcome back to our deep dive. It's the final part of our exploration into the power of caring.
We've talked about how individual acts of compassion can spark change and the motivations behind those actions.
Right. We saw how empathy, responsibility, and purpose drive people to do incredible things, even when facing huge obstacles.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm curious about what happens when all those ripples of caring start to come together?
Oh, yeah.
Like what happens when those individual acts inspire collective action on a larger scale?
That's when things get really interesting.
Right.
When those ripples converge, they can create this tidal wave of change.
It's like that saying, right?
Yeah.
A single raindrop can't make a flood,
Right.
but together they can change the landscape.
Exactly. Remember Araceli?
The young woman using TikTok to bring attention to the polluted lagoon.
Yeah. Her initial act of using social media was powerful in itself. But what's really inspiring is how it got her whole community involved.
It wasn't just about awareness, it was about starting a movement.
Right. Her videos went viral, reached millions of people. But the real impact was in her own community. People organized cleanups, they demanded action from local officials, and these started changing their own behaviors to protect the lagoon.
It shows how one act of caring amplified by social media and collective action can create lasting change.
And we see that in other stories, too, like Chella sheltering those 97 dogs during the hurricane.
Right, her compassion was amazing on its own.
But the impact went way beyond those dogs.
Yeah.
Her story touched so many people, inspired so much support, donations poured in, people volunteered, and Chella's act of caring became the symbol of hope amidst all the devastation.
So her individual act created this ripple effect, multiplying the impact through collective generosity.
Exactly. And that collective generosity, fueled by these individual acts of caring, can totally transform things.
Yeah, it can fund research, build shelters, provide disaster relief, even push for policy changes that make society more just and fair.
It's not just about the initial act, it's about the chain reaction it sets off, inspiring others to join in and work towards something bigger.
That's where the real magic happens, right?
Seeing someone else being compassionate makes us want to do the same. It creates this feeling of possibility, this belief that we can make a difference too.
And that's how cultures change, one act of caring at a time.
But of course, not every act of caring will have those dramatic results. Not every story will go viral and start a global movement.
True, but even the small acts can have a huge impact on individual lives.
Absolutely. A smile, a listening ear, a helping hand. Those little things can brighten someone's day, ease their burden, or even inspire them to pay it forward.
It's often those small acts, those moments of connection that create a truly compassionate society.
Imagine a world where people hold doors open for each other, offer help without being asked, genuinely care about their neighbors.
Sounds pretty amazing, right? But how do we actually build that kind of culture?
It's tough, especially in a world that often feels so focused on self-interest. But I think it starts with changing our perspective.
Okay, in what way?
We need to see caring as a strength, not a weakness.
Yeah, it's not about being naive. It's about recognizing our shared humanity and realizing we're all in this together.
Choosing empathy over apathy, kindness over indifference, action over inaction.
And knowing that we can all make a difference, big or small. We don't have to be superheroes.
It's about making caring a part of our daily lives.
A habit, a way of being.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, think about this. What small act of kindness will you commit to today?
And how will you use your unique skills and passions to make the world a more compassionate place?
Every act of caring, no matter how small, can have a ripple effect bigger than we can imagine.
It's been amazing exploring this with you.
Likewise. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the power of caring